today is going to be Chris Gill from anthropology, Sam Madsen from geoscience, and Eric Landrum from psychology. Chris.
Thank you. Thank you. So I thought I'd show you one of the clicker apps that students in my environmental studies class really had a lot of fun with. We really look forward to this part of the class. And I think you can do it in a way that you can see how the students use the application and then go through the rest of what Sam and Eric want to do. And if you want, you can look at how to set up the app in terms of the used by the instructor. But just to show you how the student experiences it, I think that's probably the main goal. And then if there's time, I'll show you a little bit more, elaborate a little bit more on that for everybody else to have a chance. With Socrative, this is an e-clicker application that is available as a download onto your iPad, or it can be put on an iPod, or you can use a laptop. So any of those types of mobile devices are usable by the student and by the instructor. So it's a very flexible kind of thing. And we used it in the environmental studies class as an in-class review. So we would have had an activity or some kind of project, and then as a way of just reinforcing some of the major concepts, we would have a short 5-6 question e-clicker session, usually either breaking up in the middle of the class or at the end of the class. So this was something students looked forward to. It was fun. There was no grade in terms of the actual answers that the students had. So it was extremely low stakes. And the app is free. All the apps that I used in my environmental studies class were free apps. That was one of the really important things that students could use and that I used at the class. Now, for the teacher, from the instructor's point of view, the questions and the use of the app are very easy to set up, very straightforward. It's simpler, for example, than Blackboard in terms of creating questions. It's a good way of seeing where the students as a group are in terms of the major concepts. You'll see when we try it out that we did a set of multiple choice question, and you see where the students fall in terms of the answers. And then you can explain or discuss what's going on with one answer versus another. And because the students need to sign in at the beginning of the session, the app can also be used as a class attendance or class participation. So that's how I used it. I used it first as an attendance vehicle, but also I gave students class participation points. And you can basically get an Excel spreadsheet with the students' names who participated in the session. Yes, sir.
Question. Were you operating this in an environment where you knew everybody had a device of some type?
Right. So in this case, every student in the environmental studies class had an iPad, but you could use this if people had a laptop or an iPod or anything with an internet connection. Basically, they would route to the Socrative home base and then come back. The only limitation in terms of the number of, there's a limitation in the number of students that can be on at a particular session. Yeah?
My question about using that as attendance is it possible for a student at home to log in and take the quiz and be counted there?
You could set it up so that, and I'll show you this, so that it either can be done as a student taking a quiz on their own time, or you can have the teacher moderate.
No, I don't want them to be able to do that.
Yeah,
So
so
I
you
think, is there any way
Yes.
to, so that you know they're physically there?
Does your room number change every time?
No, it's the same room number.
So what would prevent them, I guess is what I'm saying, what would prevent somebody at home from doing that and me thinking that they were there?
Okay, so for example, when we start the session, and I'll say, everybody sign in, so you'll have to know exactly when we're starting the session, and then everybody's name will show up there. I suppose you could be at home and say, well, it's about 1:25, we're going to start, and sign in and do that. I guess you could in theory, do that. But then you'd also, well, you would be able to then see when the questions pop up. So I guess there would be a way to do that if you were really creative.
It's one student in the
Students are
room.
very creative.
One student in the room texting the whole group.
Exactly.
Now, just to take that a little bit farther, that would be okay by me, because they would be participating in learning. Okay? It's very low stakes, and when they are participating, they're just not in class. They're still participating. They are in the session. Okay? So that would be conceptually okay with me. They are participating in the review and getting something out of it. So I'm just going to walk through the steps, and maybe you're familiar with this, and then we'll actually go through it. But first, the main thing to notice for our session here is that room number for my soccer accounts is 182. We'll come back to that. But that's the first step, is that once you've set up an open soccer student, then the first thing the students need to do is put in the room number.
And as an instructor, can you have multiple rooms?
I don't know.
Okay. Because I was trying to think of a way to get around the 50. And I was thinking if I could have 3 rooms going.
The way soccer signs you into a room is based on email. So if you had 3 emails, you could have 3 rooms.
Chris, is the 50 limitation because it's a free account? Can you sign up and get an unlimited?
It's still what they call a beta version. So it's still free, and they're using everybody's attempts as a way of practicing. And I would guess at some point they will have an expanded version. They don't have the last time we tried. So this is the part where after they put in the room number, then the first thing that the student will be asked to type in their name. And this, as I say, is one way of providing an attendance record. And then the types of questions that can be asked with soccer are true, false, multiple choice, and you can actually have written answers too. And I am most familiar with multiple choice, and I'll show you an example or two of that. And then there's also, for the student, the answer can be provided immediately, and you probably can't see it very clearly, but that's what the green is on this slide. It's saying, good job, you got it right. Or the instructor can withhold that. So, and I've tried it both ways, and the nice thing about withholding is it starts some chatter in the room. People say, what did you choose? They don't know if they had the right answer. And so it's a way of building suspense, and people starting to talk about why one answer might be better than another. So eventually they will be able to see a graph, but you can also withhold that. And the graph doesn't need to be there until you just discuss and say, what about this choice, what about that choice? Then you show the graph of what people did choose, and then you can, when I said, I asked them if they want to play the democracy game, which is, do you want to go with the most chosen answer? and go with, in other words, will everybody agree that that's the best answer? And then you can see what the other answers are and the alternatives and go into an explanation of those kinds of things.
Is this in a teacher-based quiz, is that graph out that for every question?
Yes.
Or they can?
It can, yes, it can. And I'll walk this through with you.
And is that part of the data that you would then have saved for yourself? Will it export that?
Yes, so that's, what you will get is an Excel spreadsheet, and that Excel spreadsheet will have all the names of the participants, and then a set of columns with the questions, and what their answer was to those questions. And so you can easily look at that Excel spreadsheet and say, oh, most of the students just did not understand this question. But you also pick that up in class. From the, if you switch to look at the soccer instructor or soccer teacher app, the first thing you would do, and we create one of these later if you haven't already done it, but I want everybody else to kind of be able to go through their things, so I won't go through the setting up of a set of questions and things, but I'd be happy to go over that with you later on in the session. But basically, for the instructor, there's a separate app. It's also free, and you put in your email and your password to get into that. And then there's a menu, and there are several different kinds of choices in terms of the kinds of quizzes. Have you created a stored quiz? The stored quizzes that you can create are simpler. There's a kind of a menu that helps drive the way you can create those. And it's a little more straightforward than even Blackboard in that instance. And then there are, as some of you know, both student-paced or teacher-paced. So the teacher-paced kind of quiz is where one question is presented and there can be a discussion about all the possibilities in terms of what the answers are, and there can be a review, or the student can just take this. So you could set this up as for people that were at the Blackboard Mobile this morning, the session this morning. You could set this up as a little quiz that they could take using mobile devices and student-based if you want. As long as you had you need a teacher and an instructor system going at the same time. So what the teacher sees and what's usually presented as an image for the class would be everybody that's in attendance. So this would be one of the places where if you were really concerned about that issue of somebody signing in, you could say, hey, is Joe Schmo here? His name is on this. And people said, no, Joe Schmo is not here. Well, how come it's on this list? Well, it must be because he signed in someplace else, so you could do that. And then, so there's a simple menu for creating questions, and I'm happy to go over that with you, but I don't want to take too much time. It's very straightforward. You can probably figure it out yourself. I'm happy to show you how that works. And you can hide the results prior. So I've tried this both ways, where as the students are taking the exams, they can see the answers start to pop up in a graph. And of course, you might anticipate what happens next is as one becomes popular, everybody shifts over to that. Okay, and that's where the democracy game comes in. You say, well, okay, everybody voted for that, but is that really the right answer? That's just the one that everybody started shifting to. So that's one game you can play. The other is you can wait and hide the bar graph until everybody's there, and then when everybody has voted, then you can show them what it is. You really do it. So this is the image that they will see, is something like that. And then the final thing you can do is you can email this to yourself, and it can be sent as an Excel file, and that provides both the student's name and the responses. So let's try. If you go back I'm going to open up you go to the instructor, the student app, and open that up. And let me first open up the teacher app. Does everybody have some student app? It won't work unless you have both a teacher and an instructor app. So the room number is 10082. We've got one person that 11 out of 12 people assigned.
I'm working on it.
Okay, 12 out of 12. Okay, so this is valuable then to the instructor because this again is basically for me. I gave them class participation points, so it wasn't what they did on the quiz. It was the experience of being there when we talked about it that was important. So this is what I used for points. If they were in class or they participated in this, that points. It didn't matter what their actual answer. So very low stake. But now we'll go to the first question. And you'll see that it looks somewhat different on yours compared to what's up here. Because you've got, okay, and this is what would happen. So now there are 5 people that have signed in. Oh, yes, that's what all have. When that's a little higher, it starts going up fast. I don't think you can vote. So now everybody has voted, and now you could ask this.
So even if you haven't advanced into the next question, once they get your, there's another one back, right?
That's right.
Right.
So in this question, I should say, okay, do we want to go with the majority? No.
You gave the right answer.
You got the answer there, right? Well, you could do it like this, so that, and you could also have it so that the students don't actually get the response. So that's really fun, because then people, all of a sudden there's a big discussion, even before you see the results. So now, just to kind of contextualize this, we have a whole activity about change in the Northern Rocky Mountain ecosystem, evolution of the Northern Rocky Mountain ecosystem, and how biodiversity has changed over time with the extinction event at the end of the Ice Age, and then changes that occurred over the last 200 years. So all these things were familiar to me. So this is a reinforcement quiz. But I also told them that these are going to be on the test. These are the questions on the test. Okay. So there's a lot of chatter and there's a lot of, oh, if you didn't know the answer, you're writing it down now. If you didn't get it the first time, you get it now.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's terrific in that for learning. Okay, here's the next question. Choose the animal that was excavated from the Boise River watershed during the early 1800s. So here's not just a question about something in biodiversity, but you also have to know what excavating means. Right? So you could ask your neighbor, you say, geez, what does that word mean? Okay, so there are all sorts of things going on connected with that.
Can you tell us what it means? Can you tell us what it means?
You switch over and you dictionary it. So this is what I would say. If somebody asked me that, I would say, what do you think it means based on this question? What do you think it means? I would give a little hint. I'd say, think of something connected with the loss of biodiversity that starts with E. And that's not excavated. It's not evolution. The loss of extinction. Yes, exactly. So excavation is a local extinction. Something that, like a neighborhood extinction. So the animal might not be extinct even on globally or on the continent, but it's extinct in the valley or whatever area you're looking at. So for example, in this question, I would say, okay, people have started to choose, and why would we maybe not go with mammoth in the early 1800s? Because they have already been extinct. But then, and then you say, well, all the others are viable, okay? And then you can discuss which would be more viable.
So Chris?
Yes.
So if I'm getting feedback when I answer, it tells me whether I got it wrong or why. Can you turn that feature off?
Yes.
If you wanted to.
Yes, and that's what in the evolution of applying and using this, I did turn it off because it brings more chatter. Right?
Can you turn it off and down for the next question?
Maybe somebody smarter than me could do it. I don't think.
So Mike,
I don't.
Eric, you just, what I've been doing yesterday is I would just, as soon as I launched the question, I was clicking the hide button very the next one. But it might work, try hiding it and then sending the next one.
Oh, okay. So let's try
I
that.
think if you do that, it will come up without the.
Well, we're seeing the teacher version.
I think what you're seeing the teacher version here, but if you're playing the game, you're seeing what the students. So
Unless they get feedback.
okay,
So now I've got the question, that question.
right. So now answer that question and see if it tells you on the instructor and the student version. Do you get the answer? Sam?
Thinking about the question.
I got a response.
Oh, you got it.
Yeah.
It's still going to tell you what it won't do is it's not going to show up. So there's no way really to turn off, I mean, on a question-by-question basis. You, on a global kind of basis, you can say, I think for this quiz, don't ever give me an answer. But on a question you can't turn it on and off as far as whether they're going to get it on their device just for their answer. But what this button is doing is saying it's not going to be projected. The teacher app isn't going to show it, so if you're projecting the teacher app like teachers now, you can decide I don't want the students to be able to see the graph.
And remember that in this case, the series of questions are all about biodiversity change over time. So there are things like extirpation, knowing what that means, and then knowing about different animals themselves. But then also, there's a timeline involved. And so in this instance, one of the important things is that something's happened in the national figures. And okay, well, what are what's the response?
We were all told by the previous.
So maybe you don't know, but all the elephants we have in this region north of Boise, they were all introduced from Yellowstone. So,
Is it the WPA?
huh?
Was it the WPA project?
I don't know. Who is? They
What a fair
they sawed off their antlers and put them in trucks and drop them off at their own. So good luck, gentlemen. See you later. Okay, here's another question. Now, we had a whole semester where we were testing out apps and trying cool things, and Eric, introduced me to this one. And one of the things I learned kind of the hard way was that about 5 questions was enough. Okay, I was gung ho. I tried 16 questions, and even though it's fun, it's not that fun. You get to question number 12, and people are starting to get bored.
Would you feel like you had to do them all at once, or could you come back multiple times?
Well, yeah, so in that case, it was one long section.
Okay.
But so that was just a suggestion that, 5 or 6 are fine.
But can it sit idle for a while and you come back to it after?
I haven't tested it, but I don't know anything about the app that would make that something that would be included. Well, now this is the logical answer, but the real answer isn't here. And so this was I put in to see how awake the students were. The real answer is 1995. And this is fine for the low stakes. In other words, we talk about in class and say, oh, I must have made a mistake.
How can I say good job? How can I say good job?
I can't.
It said good job, right?
Because it's the best answer of the group, right? And then on my quizzes, I often say that. Pick the best answer. Okay? But the real answer isn't here. The real answer is 1995. And that, you can imagine that everybody remembered that, oh, there was a mistake on this quiz. And they all remembered 1995. I mean, a lot more people. Just because of that, just a little trick of saying, oh, the answer really isn't there. And initially there was a big argument. Because people who thought they knew the answer didn't have the answer as a choice. And they had to justify it to me. Why was 1995 instead of 1985? And not all done as a verbal discussion with the class. But it was great because you could see the other students were willing to play the game and have fun. And all of a sudden, there was an argument going on that there wasn't the right answer in the group. Okay? And this might not work if there are higher stakes, if they're being graded on. But if it's just part of, what is the right answer? Why is that the right answer? And that kind of thing. Then it's a learning experience instead of some stressful, I didn't get the right answer.
Yes. Do students have access to these questions later if they wanted to study, or is it something that they have to write in their notes if they wanted to come back and
You can post.
I guess it could be posted. But because I was using it as class participation points, it was be there or be square, right? And so the value was to be there and to be part of it. But you could do that. I think there would be a way to do that. But it would take some proactive effort by the instructor. Basically, they would have to. Well, what I ended up doing, so this is how I kind of follow through on what we're considering. Is these exact same questions were put into a Blackboard quiz, and that Blackboard quiz could have been, I incorporated it as a pool into my midterm, but you could have it as a separate pool that was just a repeatable, useful quiz that you could take on Blackboard. So that's what I ended up doing, is taking the same exact question and incorporating it as a pool into my midterm. And if you did that, you went through the effort of grading these questions to use in a Blackboard, then you could have them as a low-risk Blackboard quiz that you could take, just like we were doing earlier. Okay. So then finally, you end the activity, and if you're an instructor, you get this. And now if I send this as an email, it will show up then I can give people credit for class participation, and hopefully they learn something and have fun doing it. So that's Socrates, and I think it's great, and it's free. That makes it even greater. Okay. Thanks for letting me share that with you.
Well, hi, I'm Eric Lambert from the Department of Psychology. Chris gave you a really well thought out PowerPoint. Clearly put a lot of time into this. I did not. I'm just telling you that right now. So I'm going to demo really quickly for you 2, maybe 3 programs if I have time. And so what you should be seeing right now is a poll everywhere. And this is going to have a lot of the same feature set that Chris just showed you with Socrative. The one thing that I like about poll everywhere that Socrative does not do is that you can use this with students who do not have an internet device. So if you still have students who have a cell phone, but do not have internet, or do not have smartphones, and so they can have texting ability, you can use texting.
Drew's phone, and he left it in here.
We will chastise him. Actually,
It rang 3 times in the last session.
we can make some phone calls, some international calls. Yeah, absolutely.
It'll go off eventually. Is cool everywhere?
Actually, it's not an app, it's just a program that it's just software that you would download. And so I'm actually running it off on a laptop right now. So let's just do one.
You need to download it, right? Students don't need to do anything.
Students don't need to do anything except because you're about to be the students.
Where do we get it?
Pollanywhere.com. Polleverywhere.com. Just like you can see on the screen right there at the top. www.polleverywhere.com. And it's free. And if you type in boisestate.edu, it recognizes you as an educator, it gives you an automatically upgraded account for free, which was pretty slick. Has anyone else ever used Poll Everywhere? Oh man, that means I'm only about 20 minutes ahead of the rest of the room. Okay, all right. So let's just create one. So you've got this up on, so I've got internet access right now, and I want to create a new poll, and it's really this easy. So I'm just going to, I don't know. What is your favorite social media? Let's see, what might my answers be? It might be Facebook, it might be Twitter. What other options might I want my students to be able to?
MySpace.
Okay, Google Plus. Okay, we might do this old-fashioned thing. It's called face-to-face. And none. I'm just going to click here. Okay. Oh, where are my options? I got to explain it properly. Let's see. Hang on a second. I need to. I actually use Twitter. Or are you guys seeing something different from me?
No?
Sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. Let's see. I told you I'm only 20 minutes ahead.
Did you find that everybody in your class had this capability?
I've never used this in my life.
What?
Are you kidding? See, there's one piece missing that you need to be able to see. Yeah, you need to be able to see what the text codes are. And I'm not displaying them properly. Maybe I can touch you. I'm sorry. Say again?
Can you do a multiple choice question or then?
Yeah, that's actually what this should
It
be.
says open.
It's actually what this should have been. I'm not seeing, there should be a graph here with bars. We may be able to watch the bars live.
There's no responses yet, right? So
Yeah, but see, you need to be able to see the actual code that's sent either from a text message, or you can go to pollev.com, enter it.
Yeah, that's what I did, but I don't know.
Yeah. So I'm not quite so sure.
somebody's missed it. So you texted 380-456 in the morning. Hold on a minute. Let's
Actually, it should actually give you, what it should do is it generates 3 barcodes. There's the 3 different codes, one for morning, one for everyone else for evening.
You get to separate it out in question.
That's my response right there.
Just type that in.
Oh, so I must have that as open ended.
Yeah, yeah.
So go ahead then. So text. If you don't want to text, you can actually get on that pollev.com. And so students in the room with internet access can still use their mobile device. But if you have a cell phone that does not have smartphone capabilities, they can also play. And so there's all kinds of opportunities here. I'm sorry that I
So
watched
how
this
do you do it online?
What's that?
What do you do to submit the response online?
You type in that numbers and then type in your response right after it. So go
So you
to,
put it all in the same?
yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
I like that they just texted you.
Actually, it's open all the time.
Mindset is not something I
Yay!
There you go.
The keyword warning would not be found. Make sure you enter the keyword correctly, but it did show up on his response. Yeah, it was unusual. Because as soon as I texted it, it went.
Here's another one. So here's the one I was trying to show you that I created a couple days ago. So here's a different version where you can either text that 6-digit code to 37607, you see up there, or you can use the same website, pollev.com. So try that for me.
With that number?
Yeah, yeah. So you're going to text.
No.
The code is.
Yeah, so you're going to send a text message to this number, but you're going to put this as the actual text.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, because it's live.
And can I change my
Can you change? No, I don't think so. I think you could probably vote again. Jen gets it, thank you. Finally figured out the coolness factor. It took me a couple minutes. But yeah, so think about that for your students with regard to any device. And they don't have the internet, but they have to have a cell phone. And oh, by the way, text messaging rates do apply. So if you don't have a text plan, you just spend a quarter every time you're doing this. So you can get this, you can have this live. And as you saw earlier, by mistaken accident, you can do text again. You can do actual strings as well as the numbers, the numeric counts.
I don't think it's let you go twice.
Yeah.
Won't let you go twice? Actually, you can have your other device. So you did it from your iPhone, now get out your iPad. And then get out your laptop.
Your message, it sends you back to you can't vote.
Oh, it does.
Oh, okay. Very slick.
Do you know if there's a limit to the number of people that you can have?
There is a number, but it's but the educator account needs more. And then I think there's like a $4.99 a month thing if you wanted to. So you could probably turn it on, begin the semester, turn it off again in the semester. But it's pretty slick, and you can download the slides, you can save data, and so it's something that you could play with, especially if you play with it for free. Yeah. I've actually seen this at conferences where a guest speaker will get up and do this presentation. The neat thing is, for our students, you don't say put away your cell phones, you say get out your cell phones. You're about to participate in class. So don't put everything, don't put your electronics away, get them out, because you're going to use it. And so now they're not necessarily shopping on Zappos.com or updating their Facebook, but maybe they're sending a text message every day.
It takes them 2 seconds for their text message, then they go to Zappos.
Yeah, they do, but at least they tune in for 2 seconds. They'll take that, you know. At least they tune in for a couple seconds. So that's wholeeverywhere.com. You're welcome to play with that. I'm going to switch out and show you Twitter just really briefly. So Eric, again, is that going to auto recognize? Yes, please. I went to PGA to place like an infield.
Acting like a kid fighting.
Great. All right. Any Twitter users? Oh, man. Okay, good. All right. So for the real Twitter users, I apologize. I'm not going to, yeah. For the rest of you, I'm about 10 minutes ahead of you. So I actually do tweet from time to time. And so what you can do, so just to kind of show you a quick thing here, is you can use what are called hashtags. You can create things uniquely for your class, your name of the class, whatever. There's no indexing to them, and it's a way that you can track responses. So I teach a class in psychology called Psych 487, and you can kind of see, I think you can, I've got that listed right here. So the hashtag is the $sign. And so you can create this for your class, and you can have students tweet live in your classroom. Okay, so if they have a Twitter account, they can tweet live. They can say anything they wanted to, but then they append somewhere in that message the hashtag #PSYC 487. And then what I can do, what I will show you, is that I can search for that. And I get those tweets live. Okay? So if you have a Twitter account, please tweet something. And then add the hashtag, actually, I'm pointing it out my iPad. So if you would, please send a tweet from your Twitter account, and then append the hashtag Psych487. Yeah, PSYC 487. This could be your class. This could be, you can actually see some of the ones I've searched on before. My daughter does things language says. So Don't search that one. It's goofy things that I've said. She did tweets about from her friends. Yeah, so just if you have a Twitter account, you stand your Twitter account and send a tweet. You can say anything you want to. And then somewhere in there, say this pound sign, site 487. And I'm just going to do this. I'm going to search on that. And let's see what you said. Wow, I knew that. Okay, well, thank you for being honest. I really appreciate that. Monkey Boy is here. Okay. Oh, very good. Thank you. No, that's okay. I'm not going to. Thank you, Lynn. Yeah. General is good at that. Sure. So I can get. Well, thank you, Sean. Yeah. So there you go. So you could actually do that to get your students to tweet live in your class. If you wanted to, you could actually have them see the tweets like I'm showing you now, or you can look at them later. What a nice thing to do after class, to get some post-class feedback. There's one more thing I want to show you, Rose. One more thing I want to show you, Sam, here. Okay. You need to tune in more.
Question.
Yes, ma'am. Lynn.
Do students actually ask you questions that they wouldn't ask in class on Twitter?
You know, I don't do this in class either.
You don't?
No, I wanted to show you the options.
What do you do?
I use clickers. I actually flipped my classroom this semester.
Yeah.
So I don't teach during class. All my lectures are on YouTube. You won't be bored at night because you're searching. One last thing I want to show you really quickly. I'm not going to demo it for you, but I want to show you this app. It's called Slide Rocket. I don't know if you guys have talked about that this week. Slide Rocket. So what you can do in Slide Rocket is that you can combine PowerPoint with Twitter. Okay? And so I'm not going to demo it for you, but so what I did is I gave this talk last month, SSPA folks, and I downloaded this from PowerPoint straight into Slide Rocket, and then what you can do, and that's not going to do it for you because I don't have it set up to do it. Actually, I'm going to joke. Is that right here at this little screen, if I had it set up properly, what you could do is that you could do live tweets, and they would show up here and they would scroll. So it's Slide Rocket. You can have all the accounts set up, and so, I can get rid of that black bar at the top. And so you can actually have tweets scroll here. There's a pause button. If you went too fast, you want to pause, you want to go back, you want to scroll back and forth, you can do that. But again, your students have to have Twitter capability. When I talk to my students about Twitter, and I actually do a clicker slide at the beginning of my semester, less than 10% of my students tweet. In fact, I've actually had them tell me if they could comment live in my classes about my lectures, they'd actually go get a Twitter account just so they could comment live. There's one other app that I have not a program. It's actually a PowerPoint add-in, and I've not been able to get this to work for myself. That you could have a scroll bar like on ESPN. And so you can have your PowerPoint, you can have a scroll bar and you'll scroll the tweets.
Well,
You see these on TV shows.
in Boise, they have all the tweets going down the side
Yeah.
of the screen.
Yeah. So it's a toolkit, it's a ticker, it's called a ticker. So you can have a ticker with the tweets going by live as you're doing it. I have not been able to get that one to work right now. Yes, sir.
A lot of times, people don't want to divulge their identity, shy away from jumping on things like that. Is there a way in this that you know to just allow the tweet itself to run without the person's?
I think there is. This Slide Rocket has lots of bells and whistles that I haven't obviously figured out yet. Either that, or that person could just have a second Twitter account. You just have something that's a little more anonymous. It doesn't have their image. Because actually, if I had this up and running, if you have an image attached, your image would come up as well as your tweet.
I was kind of hoping that for another to be anonymous to me. I'd like to know who did it after the fact. I know we go back and maybe it shows up to where if I go back in and check, I know who that is.
I'm not so sure. I don't know the answer to that. I can do it. So you want anonymous in class, and you want non-anonymous after class.
Well, I don't want them to text all kinds of random
Crap.
yes.
Yeah. I think there would be some classroom civility, some rule setting that we would do in there. And then you're accountable. So I'm going to see what you're saying. So I think that could be actually some kind of healthy discussions we could have. Only my favorite track.
Is there any way to capture this screen that
I'm pretty sure in Slide Rocket you can do that. But you can do a save as at the very end. I'll bet there is. Or if they're using a hashtag, you can do a search. You can search the hashtag. Yeah, for sure. Anyway, those are 3 really quick ideas about how you can get some student interactions. It's free software for the most part, unless you want to get bells and whistles. I just wanted to show you that really quickly.
I'm Sam Matson from the Department of Geosciences, and what I'd like to talk to you about today is something that can be used along with clickers, so used for student engagement in a lot of the same ways that soccer live or poll everywhere can be used, but in this case it's something that can be blended with clickers and used in a more structured way, I guess, to tie it into PowerPoint. So this app is called Responseware. And to use Responseware, you would use it in a similar sort of way that you would clickers. So if you're using Turning Point software, you would open your PowerPoint file and open it through the Turning Point software. So if I open Turning Point, it will look very similar to PowerPoint. The only difference is that you've got an extra ribbon up here for Turning Point. So now, once I've opened that software, now I can open my lecture file. Use some example slides here. So basically, what you're using are just animated slides that are built through Turning Point. There's all sorts of different options you can put on there. I'll show you a couple example slides, and I think what I'm going to do is show you what the projected view would look like to the class coming from the computer. And I'll go back through and show you the same slides from the iPad view to give you the student perspective for Responseware. So with Responseware, you can control to make sure that students are in class. If they're responding to your question, there's a text code that they have to enter at the beginning of every class that changes each class. At the beginning of class, I'll write a 6-digit word on the, or 6-digit number on the board, and they have to log in with that number. So the only way they can log in is if they have that number. So reset all my slides real quick. So this is typically what I would be doing at the beginning of every class is resetting the slides and logging into Responseware. And you get pretty good at multitasking because you're doing this while you've got a long line of students asking questions about what was covered last Friday. So you can listen to them with one ear and use the other half of your brain to enter. So once you have a Responseware account, you can just log in. And I usually choose require login. I'm not sure what allow guests does. I think it lets other people who aren't part of the class list.
And right there as well. You can reserve a session ID for the whole semester if you want to, so you don't have to use that number every time.
Okay. So it would be the same 6-digit number in that case? Okay. All right. I don't do that because I use them for participation grades mostly, so I want to make sure that they're there. So here's the 6-digit number for today. I would write this on the board in case students show up 5 minutes late or something. But you would use this number and log in to the Responseware account. So I need a couple of volunteers actually. So they're willing to give this a try. So I have the Responseware app on this iPad, and I have an account for that, so you should just be able to log in. And then I have a clicker also, so we'll get 2 responses. 2 volunteers who are willing to take a stab at the questions. You can download it, but you have to set up an account, and it costs, the registration is less expensive than a clicker, but it still costs money. So I'll go over that just in a second. So if you go ahead and enter this number, I'll go back through and show all of you what this view looks like on the iPad. So it's 766561. logged in? All right. So these questions are built into PowerPoint. So one nice thing, I guess, one advantage over the other programs is that it's maybe less distracting to switch from one program to another to just nest it right into the PowerPoint slides. So you can just ask a question. You can also include pictures. If you put a picture as the background of your slide, you can ask questions about the picture. It doesn't just have to be text. So I'll give you two of you a chance to respond. And there's 2 responses. You put a timer on these slides. You can put participation bars showing how the answers change. As more people answer. If they need more time, you can add more time if you want.
Can you show the current consensus?
I think so. I never do that, but I think that is an option you can add. I can show you some of these options. All right, so somebody else has a response for it, or a clicker. There's 3 responses here. Okay. Time is up. So there's the graph. And usually you can put a correct answer indicator in here too. So you can check mark, you can change the text or change the color of the bars to indicate the correct answer. And for my large geoscience intro level classes, I post the slides after the lecture. I'll post them as a PDF. And so this graph is saved in there. So the student is sick or has a family emergency and has to miss class, but wants to catch up on these questions, that's available. Those are available to them on Blackboard. So here I'll let you answer one more question, and then I'll show you the iPad view. It's the same picture, separate question. These are just an example of a sedimentary structure you can use to figure out what direction the past river was flowing, for example. So there are 3 responses. You can start the timer. And I'm doing all of this just by advancing the slide like I would normally in PowerPoint. So it looks like everybody's responded. Go ahead and advance the slide again. Okay, and all 3 of you chose correctly here.
Is there a limit to the number of answers?
Oh, no. You can have as many answers as you want. I'll show you another example. So there's a check mark. Yeah. The limit is
6 is too many, I think, in my experience.
Yeah.
And your graph is so cute.
Right. So here's a separate picture. There's another question with more text here. All right. Okay, so before I switch to the iPad view, I want to show you how I would deal with these responses as an instructor. You can set the correct answers and actually grade the students on whether they get things correct. I typically don't do that because a lot of times I'll ask questions where I maybe don't expect the students to know the right answer, and I'll use those to start dialogue. But the way that I download the answers is just as a text file that can be uploaded into Excel pretty easily. And so I'll show you what those responses look like. Choose the format that you want for your text. Okay, so right now I'll export these and I'll get a text file that I'll open up in Blackboard later. So we have an in-class activity for each class period. And I'll drop the 2 lowest scores at the end of the semester in case a student has to miss class or being sick or a family emergency or whatever. But at the beginning of the semester, the thing we need to do is create a class participant list. So everybody who's using a clicker has their own unique device ID on the back of the clicker. If you're using a ResponseWare, you'll get a device ID once you pay the $15 or something for a license. So each student has a unique number. And in order to grade them, I need to be able to tie that number to their name. And so at the beginning of the class, I'll open up this participant list that I made at the beginning of the semester. And then once you've got that set up, it's pretty easy to do. You can also have Turning Point upload the grades automatically into Blackboard. There's a module that you can use in Blackboard where you don't have to deal with the grades at all. I tend to not do that. I'll enter the grades manually, even for the big classes, because for 500 students, it adds maybe half an hour of work a week, and it helps me learn their names as I'm just going through the roster and entering the grades. It's usually just a score out of 5 for each day.
Sam, just to add on to that, to have students register their unique device ID, you can use Blackboard as well.
Yeah, so using the
registration block.
Yeah, so there's a registration block, and that's what you would use, that's the module that you would use in Blackboard to have it grade automatically.
No, not to grade automatically, to connect their name to their device ID.
Okay, so you can do that.
So, yeah.
It's a separate thing. So it's called the registration block.
And
the reason I didn't do that, here's the way that I make a short answer Blackboard quiz at the beginning of the semester. And so they just type in their device ID, and then I've got a spreadsheet automatically type all the names to the numbers. The problem is that a handful of students usually mess up the number, or the formatting is different. So it takes a little bit of time to get things squared away. The reason I didn't use the registration block is because if you do it that way, every student on campus has to have a unique device ID, which isn't a big problem. But in some of the large classes, had students who would say, okay, I'm taking this morning lecture section, my husband is taking the night lecture section. Is it possible for us to split the cost on this $60 clicker? And if I do it manually, it lets them do that. Right? I see it like a calculator. If they're not, sharing it for the same lecture section and not copying each other, well, why not be able to share? So it adds a little bit of work, but there are advantages to doing it that way too. Okay, so I'll switch over and show you what the student view is like in response work. Thanks. Okay, so I'm going to start these slides over again to show you what the view looks like on the iPad. So the session number was 6 digits long. It would be a different number each time. So you type in that number, and then it lets you join. But it's only going to bring up the question when I bring it up on the screen. And so if the student somehow gets the magic number from another student, if they're skipping class and you get a text from a friend with that magic number, they still have to be sitting there with their stinking iPad for the full hour and 15 minutes to be able to answer the questions when they come up for the 30 seconds that I'm asking. So it almost makes it not worth skipping class if you're going to do that. So if I bring up the clicker slides here, like I would be projecting in class, I bring up the slide and change shortly. There we go. Okay, so once I open that slide on the laptop, it brings up your possible answers. You can choose an answer. You can also change your answers. This is maybe the advantage of a soccer game. So I usually use these clicker slides as think, pair, share activities. So we'll take 2 minutes and I'll let the students discuss amongst each other. A lot of times they'll change their answer halfway through after discussing with a neighbor. So choose one answer. You can change the view here. Or go. You can once the question's over. Okay, so I advance the slide. Polling goes away. And it shows you the results not only on the screen but also on your iPad. So you can change the view, I think, here between percentage and number of answers for each category. So another feature that I haven't played with much that I think has some potential is this messaging feature here. So as you're asking a question, a student can actually text questions to you. I'm not sure how exactly I would use this. I thought initially that the messaging would be something that would come to me later, so I could collect, short spiels about justifying answers and read through those after class. We can't quite do that. It's more of a texting back and forth with the student. So as the student's answering the question, they can text you a question and you can text back to them. So maybe if you had a teaching assistant or something, you would be there texting in real time with the students. That would be another way to do it. So anyway, that's what the review looks like, or the iPad view looks like, and it gives you a history of all the different questions that have been asked for that session. Yet I'll post these slides at the end of class. So it's a little more structured. It has some advantages over Soccer Day or Poll Everywhere. You can include questions, basically anything you would do with a PowerPoint slide. It's pretty easy to use, but it's not free. Is one of the problems. I think a clicker these days is running about $65 or so. Responseware is less expensive than that. If the student has a mobile device, I think it's $17 for 2 semesters worth, $35 for 4 years. So they can use their incoming freshmen. It's a pretty good deal. Anyway, are there any questions yet?
So you showed us Doceri the other day.
Yep.
Do you use Doceri and slides all at the same time?
Yep.
So you can draw right on the slide?
Yep, exactly.
And answer the question?
Yeah. So let me, I can, if you want to see that, I can bring up Doceri.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's sort of cheated. I use the same set of slides for the Doceri presentation and the clicker slides, but I'll usually integrate both of those in class. So, yeah, while I'm setting that up, I can try to answer the other questions.
I've had students use smartphones as opposed to clickers, and I don't know what the screen says, like your answer has been received, because when you use a clicker, you click, it says, does it say anything on smartphones?
It does. It gives you a little check mark right there that you selected.
All right.
So it does give you confirmation that you answered the question. One problem we did have with Responseware was that if the wireless connection in the classroom isn't robust, and you've got a class of 250 students, it might hang up a little bit, but the students got pretty good within the first 2 weeks or so of letting me know that way. I'm not having to wait an extra 10 seconds for the wireless to catch up with the question. So the question previously was about Doceri. Make sure that I've got it set up here. So Doceri is a desktop program that has an iPad app that goes along with it. It basically turns your iPad into an interactive whiteboard. And you can do that with any program. It doesn't have to just be PowerPoint. In PowerPoint, you have the capability to write on the slides if you want to. But with Doceri, you can do it no matter what you're projecting. If it's a map, if it's a video, you can draw on top of it. So with these clicker slides, you can do that. You can do that also. So the way that I've used Doceri in my large classes is to engage students, especially in the back of the classroom, who aren't really paying attention. I can take the iPad to them, even a couple hundred feet away at the back of the classroom, and have them draw the slide to answer the question that way. So it's another way for them to answer the question. So here's, let's bring up this slide again, so just in case you didn't get a chance to see that Doceri demo. In order for this to work, both the laptop and the iPad have to be on the same wireless network. It might not work.
Okay.
So I'll just have to answer your question. Yeah, you can draw on
So you can draw on it.
Yep.
And so if you had like I want a slide that I know requires a diagram, the next one I could just have a plain slide, and then I would have a whiteboard right there, right? And I can just draw
Yep.
what I wanted and then move on to the next slide.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. Here, I figured out what the problem is. I had a new IP address from the other day, so.
In the olden days, that was called an overhead projector. You could write on stuff, you could erase it, you could crank the thing and get a new screen.
And I actually do that in the classroom I've been teaching, but I have to go back and forth, and it's just so cumbersome.
It's wireless, you can see it from anywhere in the room.
Till the bulb goes out.
Yeah, till the bulb burns out.
I think you use it deep right?
Warm your hands on a cold day right next to the bed. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, here. So I got it to work now. So with Doceri, I can actually control what's happening on the desktop. So it gives me control of everything there with the iPad. So if I say I wanted to advance the slide, I can do that from here. Or if I wanted to use this as a pointer, entering pointer mode. We can do that. It's got to catch up here.
The catch is you got to spend the $50.
Yeah. So this is the evaluation version. So you should be able
But I
to.
don't think that's very, it's not interface. That evaluation.
Put smart.
Oh, no. The big problem with the evaluation version is it doesn't let you save these drawings.
There's a lot of people doing that.
So we might use clicker slides like this with Doceri. So the students answer the question and they can see that, I want somebody to justify their answer. You go to the back of the classroom and say, okay, I want you to draw on this slide and trace out the relevant features that help you answer the question.
Workshop. That's awesome. Thank you. That's what I want.
Yeah.
Hey, Ken, do you have any idea how many people at Boise State are using Quiz Response Rate?
I think the last time I looked, it's right around 35.
It seems like when my students don't complain about numbers, because I think they usually use them at least once in their classes,
Yeah.
if not more.
The thing is, a lot of the chemistry people are using it, and those are all huge classes, 200 plus. So that alone is a large cross-section. Plus geosciences is doing some big classes.
We use them in psychology in the bookstore, buy them back used. And they'll sell them used.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. They'll buy them back and they'll sell them used.
Yeah, the key is just to make sure that you put the requisition in with the bookstore. I forgot to do that before, and then the first day of class, you tell them, oh, you need a clicker.
They come over to psychology and take all the ones that we ordered, because geosciences didn't order this. Now I know.
I made that mistake once.
Yeah, we remember. Yeah.
Other questions?
So, okay, on the paid version of that one, it will allow you to save the slide,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
you can post them then later on Blackboard if you want it.
Yep. So not only can you save the drawing, you can see a timeline of how the drawings evolve. And so if you're going to build your graph, and you only want certain parts of it to show up at certain times, you do a timeline, and you can play a movie of that. Right? So Doceri would be great for a flipped classroom where you're recording your desktop capture lectures ahead of time. Because not only can you just show the PowerPoint slides, you can draw on them, you can do whatever you need to do to record that lecture. So it would be good for that sort of situation too.
It's $30, the paid version.
The app is free. The Doceri app is free, and you've got to use it with the desktop version, which is $50.
Blackboard yesterday said
She said
it's
it's
dropping.
dropping.
Oh, drop it. That's great.
You might buy it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you don't have to pay the 30. You have the evaluation version of
Yep, for free. Yep. Yeah, it's Doceri, D-O-C-E-R-I.
Yeah.
And I haven't bought it just because for what I use it for, this worked great. I haven't needed to save the drawing.
I think it's treated as
Eric, have you used Doceri?
Yes, briefly.
Briefly.
In the class.
No.
If you're not in the class.
one way, the way that Doceri uses is that the iPad becomes essentially a dumb terminal that's remoted into the classroom computer and is in control of the classroom computer. So because of that, you can do anything with that with Doceri that you can do on the classroom computer, because really all you're doing is remote controlling it. So you can run the PowerPoint with response variable through your iPad using Doceri. Where this other way, I'll explain to you, you couldn't do that because there was the turning point won't run, natively on the iPad. The other way is the app that we gave you called Two Screens, which goes the reverse. The computer ends up being sort of a dumb viewer of what you're doing on the iPad. And the advantage of that is that you're working in an app and an interface that's built native for the touchscreen as opposed to using the scroll bars and stuff with the computer interface through a touchscreen. And it's designed also for the screen resolution of the iPad natively, where sometimes with Doceri you have to like pitch and zoom and pan around the screen. The resolution is greater on the computer you're controlling than it is on your iPad. Otherwise, stuff's really tiny. But the disadvantage of two screens is that you can only do what you can do in two screens, which would be like view documents, browse the web, show PowerPoint slides, and stuff like that. But if you want to run a program that is separate from what two screens would do, like ResponseWare or Turning Point, then you wouldn't be able to do that with two screens. So it's kind of a trade-off as to what feature set you need, which is the best way to do it.
So this is a PDF map that I've loaded. You can draw on this as well, just like you can on PowerPoint. So I think there is a pen tool within PowerPoint. So if you're only using PowerPoint slides, it's actually easier just to use that tool and save those drawings also. But if you wanted to draw on anything else, this is a good way to go. The limiting factor for why I haven't used Doceri all the time is just that there's a little bit of a hang up to get both of them, both the computer and the iPad connected. But you just saw I had to look up the IP address and make sure that they were both on the same wireless network.
If you're already taking 3 minutes to set up all your ResponseWare and participants and all of that stuff, it's just one more layer.
Right. But I think if you're on Bronco wireless, you don't run into that problem. I'm using Bronco. That's what down here.
Sometimes there's a lag between what you're drawing with your finger and what appears on your iPad. So if you're trying to do something precise, that's a little irritating.
Yeah. And I think Doceri has the functionality to do everything that the console does in the lecture halls. Dim the lights, run the projectors, you can do all of that with your iPad. It's
Yeah, all you're really doing is remote controlling the computer. So if it can be done from the computer, it can be done